The following content is intended for mature audience. Viewers' discretion is advised. Criminals disguised as policemen commit a massacre in an office. A man set on fire while still alive, so that his screams could be heard all the way inside the prison. A car bomb explodes in Florence, causing deaths and injuries. Hello, you're on True Crime 6, and these are the 6 most dangerous Italian mafia bosses arrested in recent years. Number 6. The boss of all bosses. In years of hiding in a hard prison, Salvatore Totò Riina, boss of bosses of Cosa Nostra, never showed the slightest sign of weakness. Sentenced to 26 life sentences for dozens of murders and massacres, including the one in Viale Lazio in Palermo, the attacks of 1992 in which judges Falcone and Borsellino lost their lives, and those of 1993 in Florence, Rome, and Milan. Born in Corleone on November 16, 1930, into a family of farmers, Totò Riina began his criminal career early, which led him to become the absolute leader of the murderous mafia. At just over 18, he entered prison for the first time for the murder of a guy during a brawl, and he was sentenced to 12 years. It was his meeting with Luciano Leggio, the head of one of the Corleone gangs, that changed his life. Thanks to his determination, he soon became a valuable asset to Boss Leggio, so much so that he became his right-hand man. In 1963, Leggio was arrested and sentenced, leaving power to Totò Riina. The new boss of bosses, known as Ucurtu, the Small One, did not hesitate to eliminate rivals and consolidate his power. A mafia war began that lasted more than a decade and brought an enormous number of deaths. In Palermo, an anti-mafia team was created to combat Cosa Nostra, but in a few years, almost all of the team members were eliminated, including the victims of the famous massacres in which judges Falcone and Borsellino lost their lives, along with his police escort. For the attack on Falcone, Riina wanted an extraordinary execution, so he decided with his men to blow up an entire section of the highway to eliminate the judge. The death of Riina at the age of 87 leaves many unanswered questions about the relationship between mafia and politics, the season of massacres, the so-called excellent crimes, and the plots that would have seen Cosa Nostra cooperating with some men of the government for a common strategy of power. Number 5. The Killer. Giovanni Brusca, a former member of the Mafia who is now collaborating with authorities, is known in the criminal world by the nickname The Killer. He was born in San Giuseppe Jato, in the province of Palermo, on February 20, 1957. He is the son of the boss Bernardo Brusca and brother of Emanuele and Enzo Salvatore, all belonging to the family of San Giuseppe Jato. He joined his father's gang in 1976 at the age of 19 and worked under Salvatore Riina orders. In 1977, he took part in the murder of Colonel Giuseppe Russo and worked to spy on Judge Giovanni Falcone, studying his habits and schedule. In May 1983, he prepared, together with others, the car bomb to kill Judge Rocco Chinnici and was arrested for damaging a vehicle. However, revenge for his arrest did not take long, and in 1983, the Captain Mario D'Aleo, who had captured him, was killed. In 1991, after his father's arrest, Giovanni Brusca went into hiding, took part in the Capaci massacre, and, as he declared, was one of the masterminds behind the massacre in which Judge Borsellino lost his life. He also took part in the murder of mafia tax collector Ignazio Salvo. After Riina's arrest in 1993, Brusca continued the strategy of dynamite attacks and get part in the planning of the kidnapping Giuseppe Di Matteo, a child who was kidnapped, strangled, and dissolved in acid in an attempt to get his father give up collaborating with justice. In 1996, he was arrested and decided to repent. Today, he is in a witness protection program. These were his words after his arrest. "I killed Giovanni Falcone, but it wasn't the first time. I had already used a car bomb to kill Judge Rocco Chinnici and his police escort. I am responsible for the kidnapping and death of the little Giuseppe Di Matteo, who was 13 years old when he was kidnapped and 15 when he was killed. I have personally committed and ordered over 150 murders. Today, I cannot remember all the names of those I killed one by one. Many more than 100, for sure, less than 200. Number 4. Sandokan. Francesco Schiavone was the absolute boss of the Casalesi clan in the province of Caserta. He began his criminal career at 18 years old when he was arrested for firearms illegal possession. Schiavone then became close to Antonio Bardellino and Mario Iovine and supported the Nuova Famiglia gang in their mafia war against Raffaele Cutolo's Nuova Camorra Organizzata, which produced nearly 1,500 deaths between 1977 and 1983. After the decline of the old boss Raffaele Cutolo, a new gang war breaks out between the Schiavone and De Falco gangs. Vincenzo De Falco was killed in an ambush on February 2, 1991 in Casal di Principe. Schiavone was arrested on July 11, 1998, but despite his detention, he managed to definitively defeat the De Falco gang thanks to the power of his affiliates. He became the absolute boss of the Casalesi gang after the murder of the mobster Mario Iovine on March 6, 1991 in Portugal. Using the pseudonym Sandokan for a vague resemblance to the actor Kabir Bedi, Schiavone created an economic empire based on drug trafficking, racketeering, smuggling, prostitution, and money laundering through business activities scattered throughout the world. He had constant relations with Cosa Nostra, had an army of soldiers willing to do anything, and had branches in public administration, politics, and big business. He is currently incarcerated in a maximum security prison, and by November 2021, his son Walter has decided to collaborate with the authorities, becoming a collaborator of justice. Number 3. The Gomorra Boss. Paolo Di Lauro, nickname Ciruzzo the Millionaire, was given to him at a poker table in Napoli when one night Luigi Giuliano, a former Camorra boss, saw many banknotes falling from Paolo Di Lauro's pockets and gave him this nickname that would stick with him forever. Paolo Di Lauro, criminal father Aniello La Monica, was a well-known camorrista and can be considered the link between the old gangs of the 90s and the new modern Camorra. But soon, Aniello La Monica suspected that Di Lauro was plotting to overthrow him and tried to kill him, but Di Lauro escaped the ambush. From that moment, Di Lauro and his gang decided to kill the old boss. The trap was set on May 1st, 1982. It is said that to eliminate La Monica, the Di Lauro gang tricked him into leaving his house, so the man was hit by a car and then shot dead. During the 90s, the Di Lauro gang began a mafia war with Antonio Rocco gang. During the war, Raffaele Prestieri, Di Lauro's right-hand man, was killed, and as revenge, Di Lauro decided to have Rocco's elderly mother assassinated. Among the many deaths in the war, one evening, the Di Lauro gang captured a man from the rival gang, and to avenge the death of his friend Prestieri, they brought the captured man locked into the trunk of a car in front of the Secondigliano prison, and here they set him on fire while he was still alive, so that his scream could reach the inside of the prison, where Raffaele Prestieri's brother was imprisoned. His criminal career continued for years as the undisputed boss of Secondigliano. He was captured on September 16, 2005, when the police arrested him in an apartment right in the middle of his criminal kingdom. The boss, Paolo di Lauro, is currently detained in a maximum security prison. The fictional character Don Pietro Savastano in the TV show Gomorra was mainly inspired by him. If you are interested in these topics, I recommend reading two great classic books: The Boss of Bosses, The Life of the Infamous Totò Riina, Traded Head of the Sicilian Mafia by Attilio Bolzoni, and Gomorra by Roberto Saviano. You can also find a link in the description of this video. But let's continue. Number 2. Binnu the Tractor. Bernardo Provenzano, known as one of the main leaders of Cosa Nostra, was born in Corleone on January 31 in 1933. Known as Uncle Binnu or Binnu the Tractor, he was captured on April 11, 2006 after more than 40 years on the run, having been wanted since May 9, 1963. At the beginning of his criminal career, Provenzano was part of the mafia gang led by boss Luciano Leggio, alongside Totò Riina. During the 60s, he committed his first murders and gained a reputation of a ruthless killer. During this period, he fought in the first Palermo Mafia war against the Navarra gang. On the morning of May 9, they ambushed 3 members of the Navarra gang, killing them. After receiving a warrant for the massacre, Bernardo Provenzano went into hiding. For the next 40 years, only a few brief voice recordings and a mugshot taken on September 18, 1959 remained of Provenzano. His name resurfaced in the news on December 10, 1969, when 5 men in police uniforms entered the building to eliminate Michele Cavataio, known as the Cobra. Provenzano and his associates carry out a massacre, killing everyone in the office. He rose through the ranks of Cosa Nostra in the early 80s. He did not agree with Totò Riina on the murders of the judges Falcone and Borsellino, but didn't do anything to stop the massacre. After the authorities' response and Riina's arrest, he became the new boss of Cosa Nostra. As a boss, Provenzano radically changed the typical way of operating of the Corleone Mafia, reducing to zero action like bombings and massacres, and allowing the Mafia to remain almost invisible for over a decade. He was captured in 2006 after a long and complex investigation, hiding in the countryside of Corleone, where he lived alone and apparently in complete poverty. Arrested and sentenced to life, he died at the age of 83 in hospital after a long illness. Number 1. The Last Fugitive. Born on April 26, 1962 in Castelvetrano in the province of Trapani, Matteo Messina Denaro spent decades as a fugitive before being arrested. He is son of Francesco Messina Denaro, also a mafia man, and began his criminal career alongside his father, with whom he was reported for the murder of 4 men who were strangled and dissolved in acid in 1989. In the same year, he was reported for mafia association, as he was involved in the war between the Accardo and Ingoglia gangs of Partanna. He later became the head of the Castelvetrano Mafia and allied with Totò Riina and Bernardo Provenzano's gang during the second big mafia war in the 80s. In 1992, he was one of the killers of Vincenzo Milazzo, head of the Alcamo Mafia, after the man had come into conflict with the power of Totò Riina, and a few days later, he also killed Milazzo's pregnant partner. After Riina's arrest in 1993, he favored the continuation of bomb attacks, along with Leoluca Bagarella, Giovanni Brusca, and the Graviano brothers. He was the masterminds behind the bomb attacks in Florence, Milan, and Rome, in which 10 innocent people were killed and 74 injured. During the summer 1993, Matteo Messina Denaro began his fugitive life. Law enforcement issued a warrant for his arrest for mafia association, murder, terrorism, destruction, possession and carrying of explosive material, theft, and other crimes. He was finally arrested on January 16, 2023 in Castelvetrano, after 30 years on the run. In a private conversation with a friend, he said, "With the people I have killed, I could make a cemetery." You're on True Crime 6, and this was the 6 most dangerous Italian mafia bosses. If you enjoyed this video, click like, write a comment and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our next videos that you can watch with English subtitles and soon dubbed in English language. See you next week.